Right, two things. Two things you need to rig. You need a model. I have one here. It's basically any old model will do, but in in terms of rigging, you need some special like features of them to make the better to rig. I'll get into that a bit later on. But the second thing is we need a rig. So you can. I won't go into making a super duper rig today. I'm just going to go through weight painting. So that could possibly come later. Also, probably going to skip hands. Definitely face. They can come later if I need to. Let's see if we can turn those off. Nope. 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 Hooray. Nope. Hands on one layer. That works. Right. So, in terms of matching them up, you want to look a lot at some anatomy drawings of like humans. This is specifically for human rigging. I won't go into like animal, but same principle applies. You look at mirror, please. Yep, just mirroring that makes it so that your rig will move in the same place on both sides. Just probably go a little bit bigger. Getting it perfectly in line doesn't help a lot. It can make a good difference, but this can also be changed when you've done your weighting. But it can really affect your model depending on where these go. But you can't. It doesn't actually. It doesn't have to be perfect. So if I was being anal about it, I would select these loops, put my cursor there, put that there. Yeah, I might do that with the legs. Turns out I am being anal about it. I know what I can do. N is what I wanted. Where is the cursor? I'm not going to be using that bone anyway, so that's fine. Yep. Looks weird. Screw it. That could be where it was. Right, so getting into this, that's not hugely a problem. These bones I tend to not think about that much. I don't think I've made a rig with those in, so I'll probably hide them. Alright, they're going on a different layer. There we go. Yep. It's going well. Are the hands on that one? Weird. Anyway. Just lining these up probably. I tend to find that them being very central is best. But just change it to depending on your model. So I press V there, so I don't want that to happen. Yeah, that pelvis bone needs to be right at the bottom. Tend to find that having that at the exact middle of the waist is the better way as well. This is anyone's guess. you could go in like match all of the spine vertebrae possibly. We're also not going to be rigging the nipples unless you want to, in which case you can figure that out yourself. I think this is quite exaggerated spine, so I'm going to move it back a bit. Yeah, there's always the risk of having it too far back, means that you don't. Yeah, my model is modular, so I can see what it looks like. Yeah, that seems about right. That one for the base of the neck. The head ball joint is about there. Kind of following the way the spine would take. The middle of the chest I think is a bit different. I think it should be a bit more central. I found that gives the best results, but whatever you think looks best. Like I said, you can change this once you've rigged. This will be fairly rough, but the main point we're trying to get to today is the weight painting. This needs to follow this essentially. So I'm going to say the shoulder is about here. God damn it. There we go. So things like I was saying earlier about how you should have good topology on your mesh for rigging. This kind of thing here, it's easy to put a loop in, so you can have your model just snap there, and it's all dandy, and it will follow the line that it creases. This could probably do with going back a bit. And stuff like here, there's a wrist, there's a really easy loop cut I can select, put it there. It will also affect how it deforms as well, but also get into that later. So in here I'll like to, if I want it lined up, I'll just put that there, and then just grab it on the X. What rotation is that on? So you can see the roll here. I want to keep it uniform, so that roll is basically nothing. So I'm going to set that to 0, and that one to 0, and that one is going to turn on axes for a bit so I can match it up. I have a feeling that hand is probably in the right place, so I'm going to change those back. You know what, let's get another one in just to make sure. Oh, it was like that. What axis is pointing forward? Z. Yep. Let's try that then. It'll work for what we have. This I think should always go to there. For what I want it for anyway. And yeah, that's it all laid out. So now, how do you start weight painting? Well, the big mistake to do is to go into weight painting immediately. Help if we map it first. So empty groups. Anything else is an absolute lie. We want empty groups, completely empty. I probably shouldn't have made this model modular. Oh well. Right, so that means if I move this, everything moves. Hooray! And it's rigged. Well done. Happy tutorial. No, we need to do a bit more first. So I tend to find that starting from the feet works best, and it'll sort of get you the idea of what this kind of method is. So what I find works the best and the most efficient is to, now I know this might seem silly, but we need to rig all these vertices at weighting 1. So you do not want to go into weight paint and start painting. No, that way lies madness. What you can do is you can use weight painting mode to show you the vertice weights. So if, say, I want this toe here, I've got that toe selected there, but say I was on the heel, it would automatically select the foot. I mean foot, not heel. So if I went to weight the leg, it would automatically select shin. So when I come back here, all of those verts will be on the shin. So it's a good way to move between your vertex groups. So here I want this toe and I want these verts. So I'm going to assign it, and now they're red. Yay! Got a toe, a really, really bad toe. In fact, this could yeah, works for now. So now I've got those weighted. I want to hide them. Trust me, this all makes sense. And then I select the rest of them, and I think these should all weight to this bone, so I'm going to weight them there. And now, foot's rigged. Hooray! Trust me on this. So now I think that we should move on to the leg. So I go to the leg, weight paint mode, and now it selects shin. How lovely. And then thigh, shin. Oh, and by the way, this also weights on the opposite side. So if I went to the feet again, got there, we're all fine dandy. So I can even click that and copy the pose, which I can't do in weight paint mode. Keep forgetting. So now we're onto the shin. I think I'm gonna assign all of these verts to this shin. So what I'm doing is I'm assigning the absolute roughest possible vertices to whichever bone I think is best. And that gets a lot of it out of the way. So now, if I was feeling a bit, feeling a lot of effort, I might go to this selection here, might do .5, and then I assign it to this bone. So now that has a green value, which signifies it's only half weighted. But oh look, it's just moving with it 1 to 1. That's not half weight. Well, because the reason it does that is because these verts have 0.5 weighting. In fact, if I go into this menu, I'll be able to show you. So if I select these verts, if I press V, look at that, V, it turns on the vertex paint mode. So I can now see that these vertices I've selected here can go into the vertex weight values, and it says shin 0.5. No other bone is pulling on these verts. So what's it got to do but just attract to that shin by 1? There's nothing else pulling on it. So if I need to turn off V to select bones again. But if I go to here, and then I see these shin bones, I can assign them to the thigh bone. And now look, it's got shin and thigh all on 0.5. So now when I move it, it should weigh only half as much. So now look, it's only pulling on them half as much as it would do. So this is just to signify that here is going to be an area of possibly different bendiness. So if in the actual final rig, this probably would be all red, like to the leg, it won't change that much. This shin pad, yeah, I think I'll put it on the thigh bone. Ideally, I'd probably have a different bone that I'd weight it half to, that only bends with the knee. But I'd make another bone for that, and this is just rough. So I'm gonna I'm going to give that 1 and assign it to that. Right. Relatively good. Now if we move up, so if say I've weighted all of these and I just I don't want to accidentally collect and select these and weight it to that. Now what I could do is I could just click on the shin, click select and hide. So now, seeing as I've weighted this one, it doesn't matter. I can now select all of these verts and weight them accordingly. So here is quite a few triangles. Those just trying to outline stuff in a very low poly fashion, so don't judge me. Now if I assign value of 1, it's ugly as sin, isn't it? Don't you just hate it? It's horrible. But don't worry, this is just rough. So now that is gone. We're all done. Now I'm going to wait to this one. I think that's all the rest of that. Nope. Actually, yeah. I'm going to weight that to the spine. So now that's the legs done. So if I move that, I can make it do a can-can. Whee. And, yeah. So now the legs are done. Let's move on to the torso. Now this model I've picked is going to be a bit of a basically throw you in the deep end kind of rig. You obviously won't be able to rig this yourself, but it's hopefully going to give... I haven't rigged this before, by the way, so I haven't practiced, but it's hopefully going to give you a lot of examples of how best to tackle situations like this. So, seeing as this bone here is basically exactly a vertical line across and these are underneath it, I can safely assume that this bend here isn't going to need much of this. So I'm going to assume, make sure you're on weight paint, because then it won't select the proper, then it will select the proper bone. So spine 0. You can theoretically just go in here and be like, oh, I want it on spine 3 if you knew what that, oh, I want it on the nose, I want this all on the nose, yeah, no, and I want to, yeah. So you just make sure you can select what bone you're on. Invaluable tool, that's all done, and now that's weighted. I might actually quickly, yeah, this has a where is it? There is a mask on here. Mask. Yeah, I'm gonna quickly add all of these to it. Actually, you know what? Let's just leave it. We'll rig it as we go. Or mask it later. Either way. So now that one's been done. So go in here, hide them. Go up here. Now here we see that the pockets are about halfway along there. So you could just move it along, but I think we should, you could just move that down is what I mean, but I think we should leave it as is. Let's assign that. Yep. Hide. Go to here. And now, this is the part where I think it gets a bit tricky. Because at what point do you call this bit a shoulder? Or what do you do with the arm bit here? Or what part of this does that encompass? Well, what happens is that usually it's this, this and this all have some weights on some vertices here. so it's usually best to come from other sides. But generally, you'll find that doing the head now, so if I went to the head, weight paint, you can work backwards towards it. So I think that anything under this loop here, yeah, so this loop here is going to be the cutoff point for the head, I think. So if I unselect everything here, control inverse, that is now my head assigned. Look over there, it's someone rigging. Look over there, it's nothing. And then hide. See, I'm driving this point home rather thoroughly. And this, I would say, is the neck area. So is this kind of just blocking off pixel layer, and then just giving yourself the area you want that roughly looks like the neck. So yep, that's all fine. So this roughness is really like it may be time consuming now, but you just wait, it'll save you so much hassle. So I think, yep, this is the chest. I don't think that bone actually warrants any rigging on it. I think it might just be a spine. I might remove that if I could. So that, let's see. So if there's a spine 6, I can just go on here. I can find spine 6, because I don't even need to go into weight paint mode. Might do need to if I can't find it. Yep. So assign that. Now if I move this, head moves with it. So now if I go to the eyeballs, usually you'd have an eyeball bone for this, but we're just going to go back to spine 6. Yep, that moves along. This, you'd have some bones in there possibly, or some shape keys. Now I'm just going to rig it to the head. So now all of those rig to the head. Now I'm going to go to his scarf. Yep, so that's all of his scarf. I'm going to rig that to the neck. Cool. Hide that. So the really good thing about this is you can then find out what things can be rigged to what. So I think, working from the top down, I think this collar can almost entirely be rigged to that chest bit. You generally find working backwards, once you got to the chest area, that it works a bit nicer. So I think the most of the front bit here will be rigged to the chest. Obviously that can change. Yep, that looks right. So now we've left with this bit. Let's go to the chest. Now let's hide this. So I think at this point, this area would also be green, as in 0.5. So I think I'd 0.5 this one. So let's assign that all to there. Let's assign this .5 to this one. So now make sure that when you assign .5s, you also assign the other one immediately, so that you can save yourself the hassle, and then hide, because we're done with those. So now, going up, these are all rough. All of this bit is rough. The magic will happen later. So what you're doing now is you're saving yourself a lot of time. So I think this is good enough for going there, because it kind of follows the trend. Oop, I didn't hide the neck. I remember. Hide everything. So now, I would say that excuse me. Just sneezed. So now, let's work from the arms. So, oh no, rigging a hand, how painful, ah! Oh, I'll just select all of it. Go to weight paint mode. Hand. Ah, we're done. Well, this, so this button removes it, so now it's no longer in there. I think I would, alright, we're not done. That one could be a .5. Assigned, and then on here, that could also be a .5. And in this one could be a 1. So .5s and 1s all the way. So yeah, that might be a key point I've not actually remembered, but when you rig your model, feel free to just pose it, just to see how it looks, because right now, I'd say that's a freakishly long arm. I probably would have reduced that somewhat. Well, that's the trouble with T-pose. But yeah, you can. But it's better to like look at your model. You can see what it looks like when things are stretched like that, and then later on, it helps with rigging a lot. So now onto this bit. This all can just. Yeah, it can. This all can just be rigged 1 to this. Weight paint mode. So, notice I've left out the center bit because I'm going to give that a 0.5. Then I think, yeah, this pad can go on to this bone. Now, it's fairly possible that I can give it 0.5 and just rig it to this bone and it'll be absolutely perfectly fine. But generally, I want to make it just 1, just to make it clear to myself that this is definitely a 1. And did I forget to hide it? Yes, I did. So, at this point, you can see that I've more or less made this arm joint here with rigging in mind, because as you can see under here it's horribly lengthened in the quads, but up here it's very sized down, so I can presume it should be like that. And now at this point I'd probably say that this elbow joint can be a little bit further this way. Down here. So as you can see, it's just moving it a little bit. So I think, yeah, about there works fine. Looks a bit weird. Well, let's rig the shoulder pad. So this particular character is one from a 2D fighting game, and it's from Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and this is a character called Jin. And for some reason he has these weird shoulder pads, and I don't know why I decided to make them like they do, but it's a case of 2D artists having fun with their lovely 2D sprites and not making it actually geographically or not making it actually a physical object, not follow Euclidean geometry probably, or it's just not consistent. So here's a clipping there. I'd probably put there. Yeah, so hide that. Now I'm gonna just say there's gonna be a splash of red about here on the arm. Okay, dot 5 then. And then on here. And then I'm gonna just as a reminder to myself later on. And then assign that all to the shoulder. And then I think, yeah, these are all assigned to that one as well, so I think that might get a bit more. 0.5, possibly. Yeah, so let's hide that. And now I'd say the rest is just about all shoulder, apart from, let's say, that bit. Yeah. And then that bit can be on here. Yeah, that's about right. So now if I move the whole top chest moves, but if I move this individually, that bit moves. So now I think, what else is there? Yep, there's the fleshy bit, so let's go into that bit. Where were we? Right, I don't think this actually appears. I think this might just overcomplicate things a bit. But let's see, let's say that this little bit up here can be chest. Don't have anything stray about that. This bit all here can be chest as well, or back. Yeah, let's do that as well. Yeah, and then all this bit can be arm. Not that bit. This bit. So even if you can't see it there, it's going to be weighted. Then all the rest, I think, can be shoulder. And now it's really satisfying that you get to unhide everything, knowing that it's all weighted. So now, go back to shoes, unbait that. So, everything's about roughly set up. So, here comes the fun bit. So now that we've got all of those roughly aligned, let's go into weight paint on, let's say, the knees. So let's remove this knee pad. Because the knee pad is going to be weighted 1 anyway. So let's hide that. And now that that's hidden, it will not be affected if I say subtract on it. It is. Never mind. Oh, I know, sorry. It was if I press V and then I do that, it's then hidden. So if I select, say, all of this leg, or I'm just going to do all the legs. So now that I've got all of those selected, it allows me to edit them there. So then what we do is we get the magical blur tool, and what this does is it makes all the rough edges suddenly lovely. So let's say I want to check this looks like alright. So let's move that into the place like there, and then just weight paint without worry. So when you're in that mode, you can't select bones, so may as well go into display to select bones. Ooh, I missed a fatal error. I've done a fatal error, everyone. I've done what most people will end up doing and have bones awkwardly weighted without weighting this one. So that means this one will stay as it was, and this one will be all candy coloured. So let's say I didn't do all of that. Yep. And now what I should do is I should click Auto Normalize. And now what that does is it segments it between this one and this one. So any changes I make on this will automatically affect this. Now let's scroll up here to watch the yeah, it doesn't work when you select all. But yeah, let's blur this. Let's see if I go like that, and I blur it, so I can get a bit more pull on the top leg, and keep the behind bit a bit hidden. But let's say I want the top leg to pull a bit on the bottom leg. I'm going to go into here, I'm going to blur it, and it's going to, I don't want it to pull the back of the shin, I'd like it to stay like that. But doing it like this, yeah, possibly do it there. And then just keep going like that. So now, when I've moved my leg like this, it will deform convincingly. Convincingly if you do it in the right place. And look interesting. So, now let's try that with a bit of a harder bone. Let's try it with the bottom. So now if I move that up here, let's say it looks like that. See, this could do with a bit more, or a bit less pull, or a bit less pull on these ones. So if I go onto here and I can select these vertices, I can subtract, probably change the strength of that down a bit. Seeing also normalize is still selected, it's going to change it to the other one. Now if I look at that, that's got a nice crease. I think I want this bone to this loop. I think I want these ones to select this one a bit less, so like that. Or make this one out a bit more. Nah, let's do it with the this one. So I think I want this one to add it a bit more onto there, so it's a bit more of a knee. Oops. make sure you use the add and subtract ones sparingly, because they will just add as much as possible. If I blur that a bit. Looks a bit better. Anyway, let's go on to the buttocks. So V to go off of that. So now you can see that we want to let's get these out of the way a bit. So let's go to stick. Yeah, sorry, that might have been a bit more helpful earlier. So keeping them as they are, let's get a nice leg to form like that. And you can see at the front it's not that bad, but the bum is really suffering. So let's fix that. I'm going to go on to blur. I'm going to just pull a bit more in here. A bit that looks natural. Yeah, so it's got a bit of a nice rounder feel, if you get what I mean. So if noticing that it copies it over sides, and then you can look at it from the front, so I think that could do with a bit more. So if I do that, a bit more genuine. This looks a lot more genuine. This looks very genuine. So if they're just doing a mid-walk, looks lovely. They're doing a spinning bird kick, not as bad. I would say that this probably could be stretching up a bit up here for there. But yeah, rigs like this would work for my model quite well. But let's say you're doing a hyper-realistic one. You want to just rig it to what you think looks best for that. So for me, this character isn't going to be doing a lot of like spinning bird kicks. So he's not going to have his legs like this a lot. So I'm not really going to care if the rig is a bit shit in that direction, because I mean it could be worse, but nah, I don't see the character doing that. So I'm just going to not optimize the rig for it. Just ignore it. So now, seeing as that's like a utility belt, I don't think that deserves a bit of changing, because I don't think the character's going to deform it. Possibly, maybe. But now let's just leave that. This bit, I think, needs a bit of weight on here in retrospect. So let's weight some of this to this. So now if I assign that there, it's going to have two reds, but I'll just blur it. Actually, so let's assign that to 1, because that'll be tucked in a lot, and let's remove that. And now let's blur this bit. So let's say the character is bending over. Actually, I want to hide that. Let's go into V. This one can blur because it is able to. This bit can blur because it's able to. So now what's happening is I'm blurring between the top one, so here we'll be able to see that it's rigging there, and then here we'll be able to see that it's actually blurring here as well. So we can see that if I start blurring here on this bone, this is what auto-normalize does. Also brings it down here. So getting a nice uniform curve when the character bends. So this one I might add a bit more curve here. Be sure to check all 3 dimensions of your character. So just the fun painting of it. So now we've got like a convincing spine movement. And it looks like a lovely lolly. You can see his chest is going through there a bit, that's because he haven't rigged it, or done any weighting painting to it. So, you can see that there was a deforming, and you can see why, because it's up here. It's actually weighting to those. So, if you say have a situation like this where you find that one of your verts is being rigged to something, you don't know what it is. Let's go into here. Let's select that. Oh boy, it's on the spine here, spine here. Oh, I can click on it and it will just take me to whichever spine I'm on. So I can go here and I can just select, say, all of those, and then I'll just subtract. From here. And then when I'm back up here, I'll just click add. And then let's see, if I go onto here, and then blur it, I'll get a blur between, so this one that stays still there, but when this moves, it'll move with that. So if I start blurring up here, it will start blurring with, not this one, but this one as well. So if I blur this down here, this will blur. Blur tool is the only way I can foresee rigging something like this. So I think here, got too much weight there, so I'm going to subtract it, because I don't want the spine to be controlling anything that should be the shoulder's duty. So now, I have a lovely blur tool. Blur between there and there. It should not be affecting this. So now I'm trying to blur the line of change between here and here, so now its shoulder moves a lot more naturally. Under here we want sort of a mostly red relation for the arm here. So let's come back to that, because I feel like waiting there is also much more beneficial if you wait from the top down and come back. Or wait from the bottom up to here, and then do from the arms in. So this hand, I think, is alright. I think it could do with a bit of blurring, possibly. Now that this one could stay one. Oops. Yeah, so just bends his wrist a bit more. Yeah, that's fine. This arm, that can stay all red there. However, this can go by. This bit here can be blurred. It's here. So now we can see how the arm looks when it's bent. So you can see here it's making a crease in his hand quite well, but I want it to deform the bicep a bit more. Or the whatever this is called. That's a bit of adding and blurring immediately to not make it quite so extreme. This probably could be helped if I change the mesh a bit, but it's also a case of doing that afterwards. Yeah, so as you can see, you want to have less weight spread on the corner and more on the outside, so that it makes a convincing crease. This bit here is going to be the same, so it's got auto normalized, so I'm going to put that there possibly. Aha! Now what is causing that? Now let's see what we did earlier. Let's go on there. Forearm. There, that's fine. Now that shouldn't be doing to the spine. So let's remove that and remove that one. So I think it's the one here. Yeah. No, this one. Yeah. So if I go to here, and then if I go, oops, if I go to, say, all of these, and I just say subtract, all gone. Some of them are still getting attracted. That'll be the other one. So if I go onto here, find out which vert is being messed with, see it's there, spine, and there, that one. That's a lot of them actually. Yeah, there we go. So that would be caused by possibly an errant brush stroke that went overlapping something. You might even be able to rewind and find where I did it. So now that's working. But yeah, rigging is all about small errors like that. So here's what I've been kind of anticipating or kind of dreading. This shoulder bit, because it needs to let's go to the reference image I was using. So that'll be the front one. You can see here that he has exactly like upright spikes and a baggy shoulder bit there. So this needs to be upright. So let's see, how can we do that? Well, I'm gonna blur it, of course. Might even add a bit. Oops. Now, you want to be careful and select only some areas in the vertice mode. Gotta be brave though. So now we've added a bunch, we can blur it again. So notice the blur tool is sort of friendly in the fact that it doesn't affect your other bits of your model as badly. So if I accidentally put this over something else, then it won't be as badly affected. Ah, that wasn't that. Nice. So I imagine this to be a really baggy material. So I can assume, oops, that it would be like that. So the more you click the blur tool, the more it actually does what you want it to do. So now I can see that affects it here. So we can add some more blurring here to make it a bit more effective. So any problem could be solved in the mesh post-rigging. So I think I'd move that shoulder a bit about. But let's see, let's assign those to the arms spec 5. Here by dot 5. Yeah, that look really good somehow. So now here we got some weight, so I'd probably subtract from there, and also from, ooh, that shouldn't be right. That's about right. About wrong. I want to have the arm control most of the arm movement from the elbow, or from the armpit. Just move that about a bit. Yeah, however you can find your own way. So it has to form these spikes rather badly. So that in this situation, I probably have another bone that was stuck in between that was constantly at the midpoint between this angle and this angle that controlled those spikes. But for now, that can stay. So now what we found is that when you go back to here, this is kind of already weighted itself from all the blurring. Let's remove some weight from there. Blur it. This to be blurring that one. And this bit. Blurring this bit. Possibly subtract a bit of this. I wanted to affect it slightly. I think I want the we get the bit of collar on the center chest bone. Alright, now let's move on to this one, so let's hide that. So now this can be a bit more organic. We've forgotten to do that. I'm going to assign this one to there. And here, I'm going to remove it. Hide it from there, go into V, select all. Have it blurred. So you can see here it didn't actually pick up the front blurring. So sometimes you do need to blur a little bit on one of the bones before the other bone will comprehend what you're doing. So this one should be weighted here, here. Nice uniform colour. want to keep that red, so I'm going to weight this less and less to this and give this a bit more power over these ones. Ooh. Blur tool saved the day. Bit of adding. Bit of blurring. If it clips through the close, that can just be masked out. So at this point, I'm just sort of nothing's going on there. And there. So yeah, just if you spot any mistake like that, immediately Control Z, because no one knows what Blender's doing. So, especially at the neck and head area, you want to really gradient this out so it pulls across all the skin. Now that's confusing. So at this point I'd like to bend the head so I can get a nice natural looking blur. Today's tutorial brought to you by the blur tool. Wait, do I need to on this side? Is that what it's getting? Oh, it's because I mirrored it. It's getting annoyed at me. So that next look a bit better. A bit weird there. So I think we want to blur it a bit more. This could be blurring a bit more. Basically just go mad with the blur tool, just completely insane. And maybe a little bit of a splash of the add tool. Oh yeah, it's looking nice. Probably a bit of a higher, you want to leave the jaw essentially where it is. This is quite an extreme bend, but you only learn at the extremes. So I'd say that's all about done. So let's have some fun. Ooh, I haven't done the shoes. Silly me. Right, this should actually be weighted here, seeing as it sits on the shoe like that. So that means do that. So that means I'm going to hide that. I'm going to, you guessed it, blur. There we go. Just get it started. Remember to select bones when not in vertex mode. So you can keep that other one weighted 100%. Possibly you could weight it afterwards, just had that crazy idea. Get a bit of weight from up here. Not as much at the back then. Now, final bit. Toe. Let's just blur it. Be sure to have like a podcast or a video on the background when you do this, because whilst it can be quite calming and satisfying, it be a bit of a pain sometimes and it takes you a while. Alright, now let's have a little fun. Doing a bit of a jumping pose. Yeah, you can see the chest is a bit deformed there. So let's do that bit of a spruce up. Possibly putting a bit more fine tuning into that would be beneficial to your model. And there you go.